Emily and Parker are in quarantine. The COVID-19 virus had closed the University of Florida, so Julie's favorite gator, Emily, came home to their two-bedroom apartment on Jamestown Parkway to quarantine. A freshman in college, in engineering major, Emily was very sad to leave school. Parker made the trip home from the University of North Florida to be with his family, but Parker and Emily couldn't see each other. Parker's mom had, unfortunately, contracted a terrible virus early in March, and she was suffering from fever, coughing, and body aches ever since. Everyone was worried about Parker's mom. She had tried in vain to get tested for the COVID-19 virus, but was refused each time. She even got up early one day and sat for 4 painful hours at the Orange County Convention Center for testing. But the county ran out of tests before they got to her. The county only had 250 tests for the entire day. So everyone had to act as if Parker's mom had the coronavirus. That meant Parker and his family were strictly quarantined from anyone. It meant he couldn't see Emily. Well, this was rough in a way, but it was okay with Emily. Being away at college had put a strain on their relationship. They were now in kind of a weird phase. Communication between them had become a little less and less as the months of school went by. But when they were both in town, they would get back together, like a familiar, comfortable habit. But to Emily, it seemed they were avoiding the issues and just kissing and stuff, just like old times. So to be forced apart, even when they were so geographically close, felt oddly healthy. They talked more. They texted more. They FaceTimed, TikToked, and Zoomed. But it bothered Emily that she wasn't being totally honest with him. When in school, she felt the heavy gravitational pull of her new, exciting, like-minded friends in her dorm and classes, ever so slowly pulling her out of Parker's orbit. There was a cute guy by the dormitory pool who showed an interest in her. If she hadn't been in a relationship with Parker, she would definitely have explored that. But social media told the world that Emily and Parker were in a relationship, and it would take some more force before she dared to separate. She didn't want to hurt him. And Parker wasn't entirely truthful with Emily. He also felt the gravitational pull from his friends in Jacksonville. He also had become close friends, with a beautiful girl on his intramural co-ed soccer team who he found fascinating. But he said not a word of it to Emily. So in the world of constant phone calling, texting, and every other platform where Emily and Parker interacted, neither of them talked about the most important thing. This wasn't the time to bring it up. The whole world was moving into seclusion. Their instincts shouted that now is the time to be gentle, kind, and connecting. This is not the time to cut important relationships. Emily was kind of jealous of Parker's situation. He shared a large 4-bedroom home with his parents. His older brother had moved out and was living in Birmingham. In Emily's mind, everywhere Parker turned, he could find privacy. The only privacy Emily had was her bedroom with the door shut. Her mom had hung on to her job until mid-March as a bookkeeper for a local veterinarian. But with the virus, the veterinarian was only seeing emergency animals, and so had to cut back on staff. Julie, always worried about money, had no idea what she would do when rent came due in May. Julie was beyond afraid. Some people are just plain built to handle anxiety, and stress better than others. Julie was not. She'd had issues with anxiety and depression before, and this whole mess put her in a terrible tailspin. Emily guessed this would happen to her mother. It was why she chose to stay with her mom rather than staying with Ron, her dad. Ron was laid back and had very little expenses. Emily thought about it, if anything, Ron's problem was that he didn't worry enough. If he'd had, he would probably be still married to Julie. He should have worried more about the consequences of dating other women while still being married. But Ron found a pretty good paying job working as a contractor for SJL on the I-4 project. He had learned to run a front-end loader, and there was no end in dump trucks that needed to be filled with dirt. He enjoyed working outside and using his hands. So it is ironic that Emily chose to stay in the tiny apartment to support the mom, but found that in order to mentally survive and not kill her mom, Emily stayed in her room with the door shut for as much time as she was allowed. She even brought her meals back to her room. She loved her mom, but this was just too much closeness. In a way, Emily felt like she was 14 again, with every little movement and sound from her mom hitting like fingernails on a chalkboard. She kept telling herself to not be negative and to look for the positive, but this was like two people trying to live in an Instant Pot. There was just too much pressure all the time. Her mom didn't help matters by having the 24-hour cable news playing loudly on her TV in the living room. It was a constant drumbeat of gloom being pumped out into that little apartment, day and night. Emily found herself being grateful for commercials that would give a brief respite before she would hear, "We turn now to our correspondent in northern Italy. We warn you, these pictures are pretty graphic." She had Zoom meetings with friends from school, her relatives and old friends from Solid Rock. She talked to Zach, Chad, Sarah, Katie, Drubella, and Maria quite regularly. They could always cheer her up. The world was crazy, and nothing could quite match crazy like that crazy bunch. Today's ridiculous story was the grand success of getting a 2.5-year-old to poop in a potty chair. High fives all around for that. Any success, and I mean any, was to be celebrated. According to Parker, his mom appeared to be getting better. Her attitude was good, and she was going for walks outside in the neighborhood. Emily smiled grimly that her own mother was actually sicker, with her anxiety and worries weighing her down so heavily mentally. Her friends, Debbie Cole, Karen Hartline, and others from church would reach out to her, but Emily noticed that her mom seldom initiated calls to others. When Emily ventured out into the living room, she could sense Julie's deep sadness, and it seemed to suck all the joy and light out of the room. Emily called Julie's parents, who were recently retired and had hoped to move to Florida before all of this virus stuff. Julie, of course, had put on a brave face, and Emily's grandparents had no idea of the pain, the struggle their daughter was experiencing. Julie just didn't want to worry her parents. She wanted to make them proud, to keep up the facade that they had raised a strong daughter who can handle anything. Emily's grandfather assured Emily that they had a good retirement and plenty of money saved away. They would easily be able to help Julie financially in the short run until she got back on her feet. They suggested that Emily help Julie contact Lutheran Social Services for telecounseling. The service offers its services on a sliding scale based on your ability to pay. If that is too much, Emily's grandparents would be happy to help. When Emily ended the call, she stared at the wall. She remembered the book her mom had read to her when she was little. It was a song her grandmother had sung to Julie on many occasions. I'll love you forever. I'll love you for always. As long as I'm with you, my baby, you'll be. It was true. Love can really be that strong, that deep, and last that long. Emily called Sarah Walk. I heard Jesus' voice today, Emily said in a way they used to always say on mission trips. He spoke powerfully through my grandparents. Sunday came. It was Palm Sunday. Emily helped her mom cast the service from her laptop onto the big TV. It was great to see so many familiar faces in pictures holding palms. Emily was FaceTiming Parker so he could see their family in pajamas standing for the hymns. Parker was FaceTiming Zach, who was FaceTiming Katie, and so on. Julie was FaceTiming Debbie Cole, who was FaceTiming her mom, who was FaceTiming Susan Reich, who was FaceTiming Leslie. And so in an odd, wonderful way, they were connected as a congregation as they sang old church hymns that were within range. George Liu posted that, if I knew you wanted to do this, there's a better way. I could easily connect 100 of you in a teleconference on the computer. But no, for now, this was just right. They heard the word. Emily shared a Pop-Tart for communion, and they all were composed until it came time to sing. Go now in peace, never be afraid. Tears ran down Julie's face, which caused tears to run down Emily's face. They hugged. They sobbed. Mom, we are going to be okay, Emily whispered to her mom. I know. Julie fought to get the words out. With you here now, I will be okay. And wherever two or more are gathered together in his name, there he will be also. And Parker and his family saw what was happening in Julie's home, and they prayed. And they told Katie and Sarah, and the word went out to Debbie Cole, to her mom, and on, and all prayed for Julie and for Emily. And in that moment, Julie heard the voice of Jesus, and he was singing, I'll love you forever, I'll love you for always, as long as I'm with you, my baby, you'll be. And she hugged her daughter really tight, and she smiled and went, because Jesus' voice sounded suspiciously like Emily. For love is deeper, stronger, and lasts longer than you might initially believe. Emily and Julie learned that lesson once again in each other's arms. Amen.